Welcome to Biology Brilliance.
In the last video, we started second chapter, the biological classification, and studied up to kingdom Protista. In today's video, we will learn from kingdom fungi. So, let's begin with kingdom fungi. Fung is a unique kingdom of heterotrophic organisms. Fungi are cosmopolitan and occur in air, water, soil, and on animals and plants. They prefer to grow in warm and humid places. Example: bread mold, orange rots, mushroom, toadstools, etc. White spots on mustard leaves are due to a parasitic fungus. Some fungi are the source of antibiotics, example, penicillium. Some unicellular fungi, example, yeast, are used to make bread and beer. Other fungi cause diseases in plants and animals. Example, wheat rust causing Puccinia. Except yeasts, fungi are filamentous. Their bodies consist of long, slender thread-like structures called hyphae. The network of hyphae is known as mycelium. Some hyphae are continuous tubes filled with multinucleated cytoplasm. These are called cenocytic hyphae. Others have septae or cross walls and hyphae. Fungal cell wall is made of chitin and polysaccharides. Most fungi are saprophytes, absorb soluble organic matter from dead substrates. Some are parasites. Some live as symbionts, in association with algae as lichens and with roots of higher plants as mycorrhiza. Now let us about reproduction in fungi. Fungi can reproduce asexually, sexually, and by vegetative propagation. Vegetative propagation can be by fragmentation, fission, and budding. Asexual reproduction occurs by forming spores, that is by formation of conidia, or sporangiospores or zoospores. Sexual reproduction occurs by oospores, ascospores, and basidiospores. They are produced in distinct structures called fruiting bodies. The sexual cycle involves 3 steps. Plasmogamy, fusion of protoplasm between 2 motile or non-motile gametes. Karyogamy, fusion of 2 nuclei. Meiosis, occurs in zygote resulting in haploid spores. In sexual reproduction, 2 haploid hyphae come together and fuse. In some fungi, fusion of 2 haploid cells immediately form diploid cells, 2N. In other fungi, Ascomycetes and Basidiomycetes, a dikaryotic stage or dikaryiophase, N plus N, i.e. 2 nuclei per cell, occurs. Such a condition is called a dikaryon. Later, parental nuclei fuse and the cells become diploid. Fungi form fruiting bodies in which reduction division occurs, leading to formation of haploid spores. Based on the morphology of mycelium, mode of spore formation and fruiting bodies, fungi are classified into various classes. The different classes are Phycomycetes, Ascomycetes, Basidiomycetes, and Deuteromycetes. Now we will learn about each class of fungi. Phycomycetes, the lower fungi, they occur in aquatic habitats and on decaying wood in moist and damp places or as obligate parasites on plants. The mycelium is aseptate and cenocytic. Example, mucor, rhizopus, bread mold, and albugo, parasitic fungi on mustard. Now we will compare the between asexual and sexual reproduction in Phycomycetes. Sexual takes place by motile zoospores or by non-motile aplanospores, whereas in sexual reproduction zygospores are formed by fusion of 2 gametes. In sexual reproduction, zoospores and aplanospores are produced in sporangium, whereas in sexual reproduction, the gametes, that is zygospores, are formed by fusion of 2 gametes. These gametes may be similar called isogamous or dissimilar called anisogamous or oogamous. Now, the Ascomycetes, the sac fungi, unicellular, e.g. yeast, Saccharomyces, or multicellular, e.g. penicillium. They are saprophytic, decomposers, parasitic or coprophilous, growing on dung. Mycelium is branched and septate. Asexual reproduction takes place by conidia produced exogenously on the special mycelium called conidiophores. Conidia germinate to produce mycelium. Sexual reproduction takes place by ascospores produced endogenously in sac-like asci. Asci are arranged to form ascocarps, that is fruiting bodies. Common examples are Aspergillus, Claviceps, and Neurospora. Neurospora is used in biochemical and genetic work. Many members like morels and buffles are edible and are delicacies. Next, the basidiomycetes. It includes mushrooms, bracket fungi or puffballs. They grow in soil, on logs and tree stumps and in living plant bodies as parasites, e.g. rusts and smuts. Mycelium is branched and septate. The asexual spores are generally not found, but vegetative reproduction by fragmentation is common. Sex organs are absent, but plasmogamy occurs by fusion of two vegetative or somatic cells of different strains or genotypes. The resultant structure is dikaryotic. It gives rise to basidium. Karyogamy and meiosis occur in basidium, producing 4 basidiospores exogenously. Basidia are arranged in fruiting bodies called basidiocarps. Example, agaricus, mushroom, eustylago, smut, and puccinia, rust fungus. Now, the deuteromycetes. These are commonly known as imperfect fungi because only their asexual or vegetative phases are known. When perfect, sexual, stages were discovered, they were often moved to ascomycetes and basidiomycetes. It is also possible that the asexual and vegetative stage have been given one name, and placed under deuteromycetes, and the sexual stage another, and placed under another class. When the linkages were established, the fungi were correctly identified and moved out of deuteromycetes. Deuteromycetes reproduce only by asexual spores, conidia. Mycelium is septate and branched. Some are saprophytes or parasites. Majority are decomposers of litter and help in mineral cycling. E.g. Alternaria, Calotropicum, and Trichoderma. After learning about kingdom fungi, we will go through the overview of kingdom Plantae. It includes all plants, that is eukaryotic chlorophyll-containing organisms with cellulosic cell wall. Some are partially heterotrophic, such as the insectivorous plants, e.g. bladderwort and Venus flytrap, or parasites, e.g. Cuscuta. Plantae includes algae, bryophytes, pteridophytes, gymnosperms and angiosperms. Life cycle of plants has 2 distinct phases, the diploid sporophytic and the haploid gametophytic, that alternate with each other. The lengths of the haploid and diploid phases, and whether these phases are free-living or dependent on others, vary among different groups in plants. This phenomenon is called alternation of generation. Now, we will go through the overview of kingdom Animalia. Members belonging to this kingdom are multicellular, heterotrophic, eukaryotic organisms without cell wall. They directly or indirectly depend on plants for food. They digest food in an internal cavity and store food reserves as glycogen or fat. Mode of nutrition is holozoic, by ingestion of food. They have a definite growth pattern and grow into adults that have a definite shape and size. Higher forms show sensory and neuromotor mechanism. Most of them are capable of locomotion. Sexual reproduction is by copulation of male and female followed by embryological development. Now, we will learn about virus, viroid, and lichens. In 5-kingdom classification, acellular organisms, viruses and viroids, and lichens are not mentioned. Viruses are noncellular and not truly living. So they are not included in 5-kingdom classification. Viruses have an inert crystalline structure outside the living cell. Viruses are obligate parasites. When they infect a cell, they take over the machinery of host cell to replicate themselves, killing the host. Louis Pasteur gave the name virus, means venom or poisonous fluid. D.J. Ivanovsky discovered virus. He recognized certain microbes that cause mosaic disease of tobacco. They were smaller than bacteria because they passed through bacteria-proof filters. M.W. Bajerink demonstrated that the extract of the infected plants of tobacco could cause infection in healthy plants and called the fluid as contagium vivum fluidum, infectious living fluid. W.M. Stanley showed that viruses could be crystallized, and crystals consist largely of proteins. A virus is a nucleoprotein, I.E. It has a protein coat, capsid, and genetic material, RNA or DNA. No virus contains both RNA and DNA. The genetic material is infectious. Generally, viruses that infect plants have single-stranded RNA. Viruses that infect animals have either single or double-stranded RNA or double-stranded DNA. Bacteriophages, viruses that infect bacteria, usually have double-stranded DNA. The protein coat, capsid, made of small subunits, capsomers, protects nucleic acid. Capsomers are arranged in helical or polyhedral geometric forms. Viruses cause diseases like mumps, smallpox, herpes, influenza and AIDS. In plants, the symptoms can be mosaic formation, leaf rolling and curling, yellowing and vein clearing, dwarfing and stunted growth. Here it shows the tobacco mosaic virus and bacteriophage. If we study detailed structure of the different parts, we can observe like this. Viroid is an infectious agent with a free low molecular weight RNA and no protein coat. These are smaller than viruses. It is discovered by T.O. Diener in 1971. He found that it caused potato spindle tuber disease. Lichens are symbiotic associations, mutually useful associations, between algae and fungi. The algal component is called phycobiont, autotrophic, and fungal component is mycobiont, heterotrophic. Algae prepare food for fungi and fungi provide shelter and absorb mineral nutrients and water for its partner. Lichens are very good pollution indicators. They do not grow in polluted areas.